My friends, I had not intended to discuss this controversial issue at this particular time. However, I want you to know that I do not shun controversy. On the contrary, I will take a stand on any issue at any time, regardless of how fraught with controversy it might be. You have asked me how I feel about whiskey. All right, here's how I feel about whiskey. If, when you say whiskey, you mean the devil's brew, the poison scourge, the bloody monster that defiles innocence, dethrones reason, destroys homes, creates misery and poverty, yea, literally takes the bread from the mouths of little children. If you mean the evil drink that topples Christian man and woman from the pinnacle of righteous, gracious living into the bottomless pit of degradation and despair and shame and helplessness and hopelessness, then I certainly am against it. But if when you say whiskey, you mean the oil of conversation, the philosophic wine, the ale that is consumed when good fellows get together, that puts a song in their hearts and laughter on their lips and the warm glow of contentment in their eyes, if you mean Christmas cheer, if you mean that stimulating drink that puts a spring in the old gentleman's step on a frosty, crispy morning, if you mean that drink which enables a man to magnify his joy and happiness and to forget, if only for a little while, all of life's great tragedies and heartaches and sorrows. If you mean that drink, the sale of which pours into our treasuries untold millions of dollars, which are used to provide tender care for our little crippled children, our blind, our deaf, our dumb, our pitiful aged and infirm, to build highways and hospitals and schools, then certainly I am for it. This is my stand. I will not retreat from it, and I will not compromise.
These are the words that Noah S. Sweat, a Mississippi lawyer, judge, teacher, and one-term House representative, said in 1952 on the matters of prohibition. Even though his speech didn't do much in the matter of the conversation as prohibition in Mississippi continued until 1966, he highlighted an important flaw that we tend to make in speech, whether accidental or purposeful. The relativistic and formal fallacy is known as the if by whiskey or if by cannabis fallacy, in which a person's position on a subject is dependent on the pre-existing views of the listener. In the example given from the speech, it also shows the enabling of being able to affirm both sides of an issue without having to pick one. For a politician, it is a beautiful thing. For the rest of us, you'll have to determine that yourselves. For the argument of gun control, the basis of my argument can switch and allow me to not constrain myself to a specific side. If by guns you mean the tools held by law-abiding citizens protecting their rights to live freely away from the persecution of death, then I support it. If by guns you mean the weapons used by criminals and terrorists that cause dismay to the functions of society and bring terror to the weak and unarmed, then I do not support it. By using multiple tools, including other fallacies, most importantly appeal to emotion, I never have to pick whether or not I support gun control. I can associate my opinion with both the good and bad qualities of both sides and shield my true opinion behind the facade. In advertising, this is the purpose of product and brand testing. They know that in order to sell products, what's first needed is to figure out how to associate the product to the consumer's needs, as that drives the individual to part ways with their money to reap the medicinal effects of acai bowls or snake oil or something. Reassociating chemicals that are nothing more than placebos as wonder cures has been around as long as we've had sickness and money. In the United States, the FDA doesn't even need proof for the claimed medicinal values of dietary supplements, as they are considered a special food. This failure to fact-check allows the product to be sold to the specific need of the user, as the product can claim that it can help treat for hundreds of conditions as long as one of them is in line with the consumer's needs, like living longer, which gives false hope and is a form of negligence. The ability to play a consumer base or audience by how they associate their beliefs is a dangerous thing, especially when our politics and discourse are becoming so extremely partisan that rather than safely distributing your assets and belief, they choose the language that invigorates their audience and legitimizes their concerns and thoughts, and cause the separation to become even greater. Later, Noah Sweat commented, "When I finished the first half of the speech, there was a tremendous burst of applause. The second half of the speech, after the close of which, the Wetzel applauded. The Dries were as unhappy with the second part of the speech as the Wets were with the first half. I think this is a complementary to the devil's advocate, a technique where the speaker's view aligns with the exact opposite of the listener's opinions for the sake of argument. It's complementary as the devil's advocate is to provoke argument and hold no true lasting opinion on a topic. The if by whiskey fallacy is meant to diffuse argument and to never state their lasting opinion. To my own personal philosophies, I would prefer a world full of argument and the testing of opinions, rather than a world where nobody holds a stance and everyone agreed on the conditionality of arguments. I feel with the way that our political system is going, we are putting that condition on the parties that we support and forgetting that their qualification doesn't come from their political affiliation, but by their stance or reform on judgments. I feel with the way our political system is going, we are putting that condition on the parties that we support and forgetting that their qualification doesn't come from their political affiliation, but by their stance on reform and judgments. I personally have issue with this, as I tend to agree on views while never expressing my own in hopes to understand that side's argument. But most of the time, I fail to challenge the topics and qualities that another expresses in the hopes of not being confrontational, and fail to ask how arguments can be improved. Since if by confrontation, you mean the stepping on feet, the breaking of calm conversation to heated provocative arguing, the displacement of viewpoints, and the need to protect one's opinion from personal antagonistic scrutiny, then I am against it. If by confrontation, you mean the testing and strengthening of ideas, the intervention one takes for the care of another, the creation of ideas and scenarios, and the need to protect one's opinion for the respect of their opinion and not their own personalness, then I am for it.